Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, I shouldn't even say Beyond the Press Release, should be Beyond the Press Releases, because the amount of fantastic news come out of the company just in the last 30 days has been unbelievable. But on the screen, you can see him, Shafin Diamond, he's CEO of Victory Square Technologies, VST in Canada, VSQTF in the US, and 6F6 for our friends in Europe. You're going to love this show, this version. Why? Because most of you know Agoracom's thesis. This decade is going to create 3 times more wealth from disruptive technology than the last 3 decades combined. And that's because the convergence of AI, VR, AR, blockchain, crypto, NFT, it just continues to grow, and we're excited. The problem is most small cap investors have very little expertise in any of these. And in fairness, most people don't, because they're emerging, converging technologies, right? So they don't know how to participate in them. They don't know which NFT, which crypto, which AI company. It really is a real labor, and it takes a lot of time, and very few people have that. The good news is Victory Square gives investors access to that entire basket of the best startups with maximum growth potential, all right? Their portfolio consists of more than 25 right now, more than 25 next generation technology companies in Web3, blockchain, gaming, NFTs, the Metaverse, renewables, and a couple of other industries. So, you know, if you're looking to get involved in all that, you don't understand how to research it, Victory Square is your ETF. It's your proxy in order to participate in it. Shafin, welcome back. Let's talk about all the great things going on at Victory Square.
Thanks for having me, George. Before we get started, I just want to touch upon something you just mentioned. The reality is we are seeing, I think every sector and every industry kind of being disrupted, and will continue to be disrupted over the next, 5, 10, 20 years, which means there are new breed of companies, just like there were during the dot-com era, just like there was in 08, 09 when Uber and Airbnb and those types of businesses emerged. We're seeing these new breed of companies globally being created right now that have the potential for these 25, X plus returns for investors. But all the things that you mentioned, whether it be crypto, Web3, Metaverse, VR, AR, gaming, esports, it's hard for retail investors to find these companies, get access, be able to do due diligence on them, and really
even understand their business models, right? Because George.com gaming sounds really great, but are they competitive? How's their technology? There's no way for retail investors to really assess any of these anymore, can they?
No, and that's why Victory Square was basically created to to fill that early investment gap for a broad range of investors. It's basically that VC investment access into all these emerging industries, like you mentioned, blockchain, gaming, Web3, the creator economy, NFTs, but in an audited, transparent, and liquid investment vehicle. So investors all over the world don't have to get into the Sequoia fund or hold for 5, 10 years or meet a minimum threshold. They can buy the VST stock, be aligned with management. But the big thing is we don't want investors to miss out on these opportunities, on these new breed of companies that are going to create tremendous value over the next 3, 5, 10 plus years. And so
pick any of those time zones, right? The next 3 years, the next 5 years, and this decade. I keep telling a lot of my people around me, if you're patient enough, you can be a millionaire, and it blows them away. I go, you could be a millionaire by the end of this decade if you're just patient enough with the right emerging, converging technologies out there.
That's the thing. It's first finding the right deals, getting access and the entry point you get into those deals, and then the management of and that patience in that investment. And I think for a lot of retail investors, they're preoccupied with a variety of things. There's always new innovations popping up. It's hard to keep up to speed. And again, that's why we created Victory Square. You can invest in one company that's liquid, audited, transparent. Management, including myself, has seeded this. Like, we have put our money where our mouth is to validate this. We have a track record of this, and we're vetting the best deals, globally. And we pay dividends, right? I mean, I think there's another
dividend being declared tomorrow.
There's another dividend. Yeah, the record date of tomorrow for F360. So, which will be the third dividend this year. So, given where our market cap is, given what our share price trades at, like I don't really know of any other small cap company that pays dividends like we have and we do and will continue to do. But also getting that diverse exposure. Like I can't. You and I talked before we went live. I started in the dot-com boom, 95, 96, and I was inexperienced.
You and I both.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway looking back is like these companies, the next Amazons, Googles, Facebooks, Coinbase, Airbnb, Ubers. There's so many businesses being created right now globally that are going to create significant returns for investors. And this is when owning assets or owning equities are going to be important for a lot of investors looking forward 5-10 years. I don't want investors to miss out on these big opportunities or get caught or stuck in the wrong investment. We see so much nonsense out there where there's companies that do a great job marketing, but there's no fundamentals, there's no assets, there's no foundation. And then I don't want to see investors get
Shafin, I just had a guy call me on Monday who said, "Hey George, I respond to some something you saw on the web that give them $3,000, they can turn into $165,000 before the end of the month." And this is all that kind of nonsense. Right? All that kind of nonsense. And I want to make sure people know. And I'm glad you're bringing this up. So this can be one, like my third question I was going to ask. I'm going to ask you this first. A lot of people, and I'd like you to set them straight.
Yeah.
A lot of people right now, when they think NFT and crypto, they think crypto, Shiba coin went up 5 million %. NFT, people sold art for $69 million, right? They're just seeing the big flashy get rich numbers, right? And I think that's driving a lot of the decision making where, the real money is going to come from investing in the right basket and then giving it time. So what do you say to people who are just seeing the massive crypto gains and massive NFT gains and think that they're going to be driving Lambos by Valentine's?
There are a couple of things. One, the Web3 movement is real, but it's early. So, there's going to be tremendous gains long-term for people that have the appetite for the volatility, the appetite and access and DD to go through all the nonsense, because a lot of it is nonsense and a lot of it will go to zero. But the technologies fundamentally are sound and are going to play a role long-term. So, the one thing that I'm a huge proponent of educating new investors is, one, I think you gotta keep an eye out on this asset class. I think you need to play around with it to really learn and realize, excuse me, what the value proposition is. But what we tried to do with Victory Square was to give people access to that space, and we'll now navigate the Wild West right now, because it is kind of like the Wild West. And there's
just like Web 1.0 when you and I .com days. Some good businesses came out of that, but there are some stupid business. George.com is going to sell lemon pies online, and it's going to be $1 billion company. Ridiculous things like that. That people really lost a lot of money. Same thing is happening now, but within that, there are also the real companies, right? The real companies,
but again, it's this is global, so there's a lot of noise. So you really need someone to help synthesize through all that noise and really find out what the best projects are. The other thing too is when I think for a lot of people it's intimidating when they think about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana, or NFTs, or all of this, or a MetaMask wallet, or private keys. There's still a lot of friction. There's still a lot of uncertainty. There's still a lot of unknowns. Still a lot of education that's still required to happen. What we've tried to do in Victory Square, and one of the a number of the new projects that are being incubated, all revolve around us putting baskets together of some of the best DeFi projects, the best Metaverse projects, the best DAOs, and putting it into VST so investors can still get exposure to those things, but they don't have to have a private key or a wallet or understand how to sift through all of those things. Sooner or later, I think it'll become more mainstream and more normalized, and there'll be more of that education. Just like you said, in Web 1.0, I remember I started the online dating and then went into, the online gambling space. And I remember people saying, no one's going to meet anyone online. No one's going to put their credit card online. No one's going to buy anything online.
Yep, I remember that. No one's going to do investor relations online.
Oh, it was so new. But, again, we've obviously seen how that story has unfolded and turned out. And the same thing is going to happen here. Again, it's going to take time. It's early. But what we want to do is we don't want people to miss out, and we want to be their guide. We want to be able to curate some of the best projects, but do it in a manner that's easy. You can invest through your IRA account, invest through your TFSA, into VST, and again, you're getting exposure, and you're investing alongside ourselves. And again, there's that track record, audited, liquid, transparent, democratizing access for people to this asset class.
And Shafin, I'm going to say something further, which is my family and Agoracom and me, we're very well versed in Web3, right? Very well, which means NFTs, tokens, crypto. But I can tell you that even I struggle. We've got a two-man team, and even we struggle to keep up, to assess, and to pull the trigger on making investments, right? It's much faster than .com Web 1.0. So the reason I'm bringing that up is I can say unequivocally for 99% of retail small cap investors out there, they're better off, and I don't want to say going Victory Square because I don't want people thinking I'm giving financial advice, but they're much better off taking a very, very close look at Victory Square, making sure it's for them, and then if so, let Victory Square handle all that. Because I'm telling you, we lose sleep trying to keep up with how fast things are moving and trying to assess it. Retail won't be able to do it. They'll end up missing it. You're better off finding a vehicle like Victory Square. And the reason I'm saying that again is because I can't give financial advice. So I can't say make it Victory Square, but guys, find a vehicle. If you don't have a vehicle, you're going to miss all of this.
And not only find a vehicle, but do your due diligence in whatever vehicle you decide and choose, because the one thing I'll say is it's not a roller coaster up. There's going to be tremendous volatility. There could be corrections. There could, you've got to have a long-term viewpoint, and you can't get, stuck, checking the share price or token price of things. I think you really need to bet fundamentally on a solid team, like you mentioned, that understands the sector, that has access, that has a good track record, so that you can, feel safe and comfortable knowing that like your investment, is.
And most people can't handle that roller coaster. Let me remind everyone. There was a time when Amazon, after the subprime, when was it? Or was it after .com? After .com, sorry, they went to like $3 or $4 a share. Tesla at one point was at $17 a share. Facebook at one point was at. Very few people have the ability to handle those kind of rides and assess whether they should hold, buy, sell, and they just go with emotion. And most people just bug out, right? So when you have a portfolio, a basket like Victory Square, you don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to, you don't have to go through these massive gyrations. Let Victory Square go through it for you within a portfolio of 25 other companies.
But you're spot on. I mean, the reason why there's so much wealth that's concentrated, one of the reasons why there's so much wealth concentrated in so few hands is, again, it's having that long-term, having that long-term viewpoint, not making emotional and irrational, types of moves. And, again, one prime example, just looking at, this year is a really good example, or the last 18 months are really a good example for a lot of investors. Equity markets, small cap markets were ripping last year. Not necessarily on fundamentals, just on momentum. A lot of interest, jumping into a lot of really interesting names. Q1, same thing. The last 6 months, the small cap space, has declined, just like our share price. Our share price has declined, but I'm not faded. Again, like there's, we're long-term on this. There's no panic. There's no, no need to jump ship. And again, these are the times, there's that Buffett quote, be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Like, again, the real money is going to be made by finding the right bets, investing in the right people and companies, and being patient, and buying the dip, and thinking long term.
All the 6 and 7 digit kills I've made in my life, Shafin, have come from putting down money and not worrying about share price, only worrying about the core business. Is the core business intact? Then I'm okay with it. I stay. If the core business breaks off, I don't care what the share price is, I'm selling and I'm running out. But as long as the core business, and at Victory Square, the core business, and I'm going to say this I can say is my personal opinion. I look at Victory Square as, it's funny that you brought up Warren Buffett, but I really, truly look at Victory Square as the small cap tech Berkshire Hathaway. And that 10 years from now, whatever my holdings are in Victory Square today are going to be amplified by multiples, not just on the underlying value of the stock, but the dividends that come out from all the portfolio companies that you take public. That's the way I look at it, but you got to be patient. Sure, I'd love to make $10 million by March. Who doesn't? But that doesn't happen, right? And this is the time to, so on that note, Shafin, let's talk a little bit about, because we can't talk about your entire portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about how successful you've been for a couple minutes at launching, immersive game on, right, this year, and what you're looking to launch next year, and what the outlook is for those.
Yeah, I mean, so last year Fans was spun out. This year we've had four could be defined as transactions. So Game On and Fantasy 360 Technologies, which is doing business as Immersive, ticker VRAR, both listed. Game On listed in June, I believe, and Immersive, which was around September 1st. Big milestones. Immersive was incubated from scratch, so this was built internally. Again, a company, really strong board team working in the VR, AR, and mixed reality space, which again is being grouped into the Metaverse. So really excited about what they have in store for next year, and just excited that it was built in-house, from scratch. Game On, again, I think you've spoken to Matt Bailey, phenomenal team. Santi Jaramillo, who built NBA Top Shot at Dapper Labs, which has really kickstarted the big NFT. A
lot of people don't know that, but they started the NFT.
Head of product on Game On. They're building NFT games on the blockchain. A lot of momentum. Anyone that follows their story will see, again, very good communication, and we're excited for what they have in store next year. So those were two big milestones. The third, which was Covalent CQT, which raised capital in a different manner. They issued a $10 million US token generation event to fund their development and growth. And their market cap had reached a high of 1.4 billion US. Today, I think it stands at around 700 million US, roughly. But again, phenomenal team, phenomenal. And
you've got $6 million of that on the unrealized fair value gain of $6 million of just those tokens alone.
Yeah. So again, but one thing to note about that company that's super exciting is, they built a product that that's been coined the Google of the blockchain. So really focused around data, and with their product, they're able to see all the emerging projects on all the different chains. So whether it be Avalanche or Solana or Polygon, and access to what the next best projects end up being, which allows VST to kind of make those investments early in the right project. So yeah,
what an incredible sniffing tool that is, to have Covalent on your side, to be able to pick up. They're going to pick up, hey, there's something over here called GeorgeCom blockchain, and it's really starting to get some traction way before anybody else does.
And just in that note, I mean, I think this is one of the powers of the ecosystem. There's 25 plus companies in the ecosystem in really, really big sectors, where they're thought leaders in those spaces. So the amount of good deal flow and vetted deal flow, and opportunity and access that we see through the eyes of these founders, is really super valuable for VST as a parent to continue to keep ahead of the curve. So yeah, no, it's definitely definitely exciting as we look forward, given that like our founders are working in like some of the most exciting spaces and they're leaders. So again, they're seeing the best deals globally. This is one big change. One big thing I would say.
And that's a huge advantage, I got to say,
Oh.
sorry, Shafin, because, we're always looking for deals, but man, it's hard to source. We got to do this deep dive research, for our own private stuff. Whereas you guys have this fantastic ecosystem where it's just flowing into you from some of the best sources around the world.
And note this, George, during the first .com boom, almost all the innovation was coming from the Valley or the US, some from Canada, but tech is borderless. Like, great is coming from everywhere. So, one of the biggest advantages we have is we have relationships with 80 accelerators around the world. And I know people, I might sound like a broken record because I referenced that, but that is really powerful. Like, there are some
broken record at all.
Companies with great entry points coming out of Delhi, coming out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, coming out of different, coming out of, the Ukraine, of Kiev. Like, most investors will not have access to these. Most companies would have access to these.
I don't have access to them, Shafin. I don't. So how is the common retail investor who has a full-time job as a teacher, a plumber, electrician, whatever they're doing, lawyer, accountant, doctor, they don't have I can't find this stuff. They're never gonna have a chance. And that's why Victory Square is so powerful for everybody. That's why it's such a powerful tool, even for me. Going forward, looking forward, you got Stardust, Turnium, Copilot AI, and Creator.co.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about those, just so I know we're not going to do deep dives into them today, but why they're so exciting that you got that. Again, these are inside the Victory Square portfolio.
So the 4 companies you mentioned all are, planning a listing within the next 90 to 120 days. Obviously, there could be plus or minus, I'd say 30 to 45 days, just given regulatory hurdles. But we're excited for a couple of reasons. One, we have strong positions in each of those businesses. So Stardust being in the renewable space, a space and sector that we see tremendous opportunity. Again, anything climate related is a big focus of ours. Great leadership. It's being listed at a significant multiple to what our entry point was. And again, the opportunity for us to issue a dividend to VST shareholders. So we're excited about all 4 of those because of the opportunity for to unlock the true value of that asset on VST's balance sheet. 2, it gives us a bit of liquidity at a higher multiple to, again, invest in new opportunities. The dividend for VST shareholders. And then again, Stardust, the renewable space, which we think, again, has tremendous room to grow. Turnium in the SD-WAN space, which I think we have tremendous room to grow. And then, Copilot and Creator.co. Copilot is exciting for us because, again, there's a massive increase in value from our entry point to what it's going to list at, which, again, will jump onto our balance sheet. And, Creator.co, people always ask, what are some of the sectors you're most excited about? And to me, Web3 and everything around Web3 is super exciting. So with the creator economy,
and for everyone knows, Web3 is blockchain, tokens, NFT, and being rewarded basically, right, for creating. You're rewarded for creating content as being part of a platform. I know that's a very general, but at least give people an idea of what creator economy means.
So, just to touch upon that. So, Web 1.0, which was, 95 to 2005, which was, a static internet. It was basically just, democratizing access to information, but you're not really interacting with that information. Web 2, which I think pretty much started in around the 2005 to, today, was fueled by, large companies like Facebook and Amazon, really allowing us to transact, to socialize. Social networks are a really big proponent on Web 2.
Facebook, Twitter, Snap, so and so.
To allow us to read, write, transact, which was great. Now, the one negative to all of that is very few large centralized companies owned everything, and the customer became the product. In that, the majority of the models were ad-based, so your privacy was kind of compromised, and you didn't own any of your input, any of your pictures and your content that you were basically pushing out into these centralized networks. What Web3 is, it's basically bringing the power back to the users and the builders. So it's more focused around this decentralized, decentralized system where instead of having one central node, it's distributed amongst all the users, and the users are compensated generally in tokens for their input and their participation in the network, functioning.
To give people an example, look at what Agoracom could become in Web3, which is right now it's owned by me, let's say. But going forward, switching to Web3, people contribute to the site, will earn tokens, whether they're creating content, moderating, sharing. And those tokens are going to give them some governance, which means they get to vote on stuff, they get to share in profits. That's where we're going, right, Shafin, where the people putting in time, effort, energy, value are getting value back.
Absolutely.
Never been done before.
Take Agoracom and scenario, like Agoracom would be a great DAO, which is, a decentralized autonomous organization. Now, if you think about it, your audience, you have two audiences, two parts to your business. One, which is an audience of retail investors that come to you so that you can share and do DD on a variety of really exciting new opportunities. Then you've got all these companies that come to you for your audience, to reach out to your audience. Now, if every one of your audience, purchased, let's say, an Agoracom token to be part of a DAO, so they all are participating as owners in Agoracom. The funding that they put in, they get a vote for their funding, and the audience votes and determines what companies to invest in. So you bring clients on, you bring companies on, and then your audience decides whom should we invest in, and they all benefit. Or
even which companies do we want to bring onto the platform? Hey, we want to bring that company. Let's bring that company on the platform. Yeah. But the bottom line is the contributors are going to get a chance to finally get a piece of the pie, and it's never been possible until blockchain and token and NFT technology came along, right?
No hierarchy. They can, they get rewarded for input, bringing new people into the ecosystem. So I think that again, it's still very early. I get excited about it. It's still very early, but I think what these are flashes of what is coming. And every time we've seen new ideas and what technology's opened up is there are brilliant people that look at pain points in our current system, and they use this innovation and technology to solve those pain points, create efficiency, and do a variety of other things. When you think about, again, in the Web3 space specifically, decentralized finance, DAOs, the gamified play to earn space, all of these spaces are young entrepreneurs or young minds using this new technology, new innovation, new way of thinking to solve pain points and distribute, control more privacy, distribute the wealth from large central.
Everybody wins, right? When we all started with Facebook, everyone was like, hey, this is cool, it's free. I put up pictures, Shafin gets to see my family, I see yours, you and I comment on each other's stuff sometimes. Great. But now what's happened is there's a bit of resentment that's grown, which is, hold on here, Mark Zuckerberg is worth 150 billion, whatever, $200 billion, whatever he's worth. And I've helped him grow all that, and I get nothing out of this platform. And now this platform is behaving in ways that don't necessarily make me happy. Yeah. And now you got this really bad relationship between Facebook users and management. Whereas a new decentralized, kind of platform, everybody will participate in at the beginning. Everyone gets to vote on stuff. So as it grows, everyone's part of the process. I think that's just the way the world is going to go.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously, I think that the movement is still early, and there's going to be a lot of, curation and organization, and there'll be some regulatory, and there'll be some, governance, and you're going to go through a period of trial and error. But I truly believe that this mode of thinking is going to be, is going to win long term. It's just where the world is going, and I think, we're now. Like you mentioned, Web 1 democratized access to information, Web 2 connected people and allowed them to find their tribe. And 3 is now, again, the ability to take back your data and your privacy and really redistribute the wealth, because there was a lot of wealth creation in very few hands. But now, again, the internet's connected the world globally. And, we need to, I think, as we look forward, the distribution of wealth, globally is going to be an important thing as we kind of move forward as
absolutely, because we all want that, right? We all want that. Sometimes you hear, and look, we're gone 30 minutes, so we'll end off in a couple minutes because you and I should have a more general conversation, a town hall, invite everyone to do a live conversation, which would be great. But take a look at, people say Elon Musk shouldn't have $300 billion. Well, he didn't mean to, right? He's not hoarding it. He just really, and if there was an efficient way for him to share the wealth with the world, he would probably do it, right? But it hasn't existed until now, right? And I think it's in all our best interest. People might say, "Hey, why would George want to give up part ownership of Agoracom and decentralize it with companies and members and investors and so on and so forth?" Well, because if that allows me to reach a user base in Malaysia and Australia and Africa and in Russia, or whatever the case is, then whatever I gave up, I've made up for in expanding to users around the world who want to be part of it. And that's the beauty. It means wealth is going to get created for all of us, and not just tax Shafin, because we know that's not the solution. The solution is you got to create wealth, not slice up the pie.
In that community, I think it builds a very strong foundation for any movement when you have, equal ownership, the ownership that's distributed, and people have are being recognized and rewarded for their participation. And it's generally around like-minded causes or like-minded ideas or ways of thinking. And I think it also makes that unit much more powerful when you have that.
Shafin, I mean it when I say it. I think in the new year, what we need to do is have a real town hall, invite people in, even do a live video. Because look, none of this is scripted, right? And we got so much to say. The only thing I would do is say, okay, let's start with topics and go through them. But this has been a powerful conversation. And I think what it does is also reflects really powerfully on Victory Square as to why Victory Square should be that strong consideration for people who are watching as a proxy for future, because you've got your head exactly where it needs to be. You get this. Go ahead.
No, and I appreciate that, George. And I want to, as we close out, I just, because really I think that the catalyst over the next 90 to 120 days are going to be really important. You mentioned the 4 spinoffs. You mentioned the dividend, which tomorrow is the date of record date. There are a couple of other things I think are just really good for investors to kind of keep an eye out. We have a big presence in the digital health space, and one of the big focuses going forward into 2022 is around 2 of our assets. One, which is Victory Square Digital Health, which is kind of built a Shopify for healthcare. It's like a white labeled solution that is going to be ramping up in the US next year. And I think keep an eye out for a lot of news around that. The other is Victory Square Health in Brazil. So, this is a company that's been in our portfolio for a while. They've been in stealth. A lot of people have heard a lot about them last year, and I think they're upset that they weren't hearing more about what they're working on. Keep an eye out, though. We've been working with that team to leverage their first mover advantage in Brazil to kind of build an Everlywell, get Roman Teladoc type model, but in Brazil and the Mercosur countries, which again, we think is going to be significant. And then the third is
unbelievable what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and the third is, every year we add about 3 to 5 new portfolio companies into the mix. So there's some that we've been working with internally that have been incubated in Scratch, really around exchange traded protocols, because we want investors to get access to what's happening in that Web3 space, but through a safe manner in VST. And so there are, keep an eye out for some of the new companies that we've been working on in stealth that are going to be coming to light next year. So again, a lot of catalysts for the next 90 to 120 days. And again, great entry point for VST right now. So, if you want to do some Christmas shopping, jump into the stock.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. But again, no investment advice for everybody at home. You got to make that decision. But I know what I know about Web3. I know how powerful it's going to be. I know how hard it is to find a portfolio of companies. And when I look at the Victory Square portfolio, I just say, man, that's an incredible value. Last question, more like a short answer to end it off with, Shafin. On a scale of 1 to 10, and I know all CEOs are always going to say, fathers for their children, CEOs for the companies are always say 12, right? But on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? How satisfied are you with how Victory Square is positioned, not just for 2022, but for the 2022 to 2025? How well are you positioned right now? How happy are you with the portfolio, the pipeline, and what the future looks like for the company?
Long term, I'm excited. I'm super happy, and I'm confident. I know what's under the hood. And again, this is not our first rodeo. Anyone that looks at our digital footprint for the past 20 years is we've done this time and time again. So when I look back at the last 5 years and I look at the growth of our net asset value, I'm confident going forward that we're going to continue to execute at a high level, especially since that flywheel is kind of kicked in. There is one thing though that I'm definitely everyone that's supported Victory Square, all shareholders. We're so grateful for them, and I think one of the biggest challenges I've had this year is obviously our share price has not performed, as has most of the small cap market.
No, you can't take any blame. It's just been a lull in the small cap market, which I think is from COVID. There was such a great move, and I think it's just taking a breather, right? It's just taking a natural cycle breather.
It has, but I feel for our shareholders, and I'm the largest shareholder as well. So the big thing is, look at our financials, follow our news releases. The machine has gotten stronger. Even though the share price has declined, the machine has just gotten stronger, and we're really looking forward ahead. And we hear our investors, and again, be confident, because again, we've really loaded up and really focused on the fundamentals and the operations of the business. And I think 2022 is going to be an exciting year for us.
I've been in the situation before. I'll end off with this, Shafin, where people say, "What do you think of the share price? And aren't you upset?" And I'll say two things. I'll say, I'm not happy with the share price, but I'm not worried about it either.
Oh, no.
And I think that's probably where you're at too. You're not happy. We'd all prefer to be sitting at 60, $1, $1.20, $1.50, but so we're not happy about that, but we're not worried either. It's not like you're planning to liquidate the company at 75 cents or $1 anyways. You're growing a behemoth.
Oh yeah. I ain't selling.
Almost inconsequential.
Oh yeah. I ain't selling for a long time. And again, that's the point. It's important to do your own due diligence, but look at a company's cash position. Look at their assets. We paid out dividends. There's so many factors that I think investors really need to keep an eye on. And again, the share price only becomes important if you're selling, right? To me, we don't have issues with capital. We don't have, the share price is only an issue if you're selling. Otherwise, strap on your seatbelt and, come along for the ride.
Hey, every big win I've had has come with first crossing a real worrisome period where I wasn't worried. I just wasn't happy. But while other people were jumping off ship, I can tell you I stayed. And a year and a half later, people are like, I have people come up to me in restaurants sometimes say, "Oh my God, George, I sold ABC at that price." And I say, "Hey, that's okay. You still made some money, but what are you doing?" "I'm still holding." And it's at price times 3, right? And you just have to have that patience. So Shafin, amazing what you guys have done. We got to do a town hall. We got to really do another one of these where we can go 60, 90 minutes. People can strap in and really go through topics, but love what you guys have done. Congratulations on a great year. And I love the fact that already Stardust, Turnium, Copilot, Creator Co are all lined up for the next 90 days or so, give or take 30 days. So being 1,620, how much better can you get? I can't wait to have you back, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks so much, George.
And happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all that to your family as well.
You as well. Cheers.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Shafin Diamond, he's CEO of Victory Square Technologies, trades in Canada under VST. For our friends in the US, VSQTF. For those of you new and you want to do your due diligence, real easy way to do it. Get to their profile page in Agoracom. Because Victory Square has got so many moving parts, we got it nicely laid out in summary form so you can understand all the moving parts and get a good 1,000-foot view of the company. And then when you're ready for your deeper dive, click on the link, go right into Victory Square's website, do your deep dive due diligence. Just don't say 12, 24, 36 months from now that we didn't tell you. So in fact, I'm going to go on record, Shafin, I've never done this before. I'm going to turn this into an NFT one day, this video clip, just this ending here, because that's how confident I am of, we'll be looking back on this one day and some people are going to be celebrating and some people are going to say, what was they thinking? But thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and then leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel so you don't ever miss another great Agoracom small cap video.